Many blessings to you. This is Ayya Phalanyani speaking from Germany, Anenja Vihara. I have received a gift, and because of that, I would like to give some blessings. Good morning, Richard. Welcome to you. Welcome to everyone. So I don't know if we shall wait for Melissa, because the blessing I give would be for her, because this is the second time that I received some teas from her for my health. So please, let's for a moment sit and breathe and get here or get there, wherever you are, and relax and make your mind ready to listen to the Dhamma and to let the Dhamma sink into your heart. So I do not know whether Melissa is already here, but anyway. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. And now the blessing for Melissa. Sappiteo vivachantu saparoko vinasato. Mate bhavatwantarayu sukhi dikhayu kobaba. Abhivadana silisa nichang uthapachainu chattharu dhamma vadhanti. Ayu vano sukhang phalang. And so this verse is for Melissa. I hope she heard it. And on the tea, you know those teas on the little pet that at the end where you hold it to dip it into the hot water, there is often some saying or something. So here we have from one of the tea bags, may this day be the day to lead us to peace, to happiness, and to joy. And this I would like to wish for all of you. And now something is happening. I think there are difficulties with Facebook. We're having trouble. Just let me check the note that we have here. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook and this, huh? Well, I don't know, but 2 of the Facebook streams probably won't work. So we will be few people today. And yeah, I think there it just stopped. Anyway, we continue here and we will just do our normal thing, and those people who are watching on Facebook, either skip to another Buddhist Insight account on Facebook. There are several, I think, where you could watch it, or you can follow it on YouTube later. So I'm sorry for that. This is nothing that I can do at my end, I think, apart from apologizing. And today, yes, Jayanta, you can watch. It's some problem with Facebook. It seems that Buddhist Insights or Empty Cloud Monastery have several accounts on which the stream should run, so that there are plenty people. And already, I think, since a couple of weeks, one wasn't working. And today, 2 of the Facebook connections are not working. So that leaves us with only very few people. But nonetheless, I'm sharing the Dhamma with whether there are plenty or few people. That is not, if there are few people, that is not a reason not to share the Dhamma, right? The Dhamma has to be shared whenever, wherever possible. And if it's only one person looking or listening, then I would do. So I asked a friend of our monastery, a Ninja Vihara here in Germany, what she would like me to talk about. And at first she couldn't think about anything. And then she said one of her favorite suttas is actually Digha Nikaya number 34, which is the Dasutarasutta, or some translated as expanding decades, or it is also called up to 10. Up to 10 would be the translation of Bhikkhu Sujato, whereas expanding decades would be the translation of Morris Welch. And I have here both translations of the Pali into the English with me. And if there were a translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi, I certainly would read this. But here I probably go, because it's a little bit more understandable, I would go with the translation of Bhante Sujato. Up to 10. So have I heard, at one time the Buddha was staying near Kampa on the banks of the Gaggara lotus pond, together with a large sangha of 500 mendicants. There Sariputta addressed the mendicants. Reverence, mendicants. Reverend, they replied. Sariputta said this. I will relate the teachings up to 10 for attaining is extinguishment, for making an end of suffering, the release from all ties. So that is what we most probably all wish for, right? So that is in our interest. That is what we are aiming for, longing for, maybe. And this is a quite long sutra, and we can't possibly come to an end with discussing and talking about this, but we start with it. And it's in groups. In the first group, the Buddha counts 10 things, or tells us 10 things that, well, listen. Reverence. One thing is helpful. One thing should be developed. One thing should be completely understood. One thing should be given up. One thing makes things worse. One thing leads to distinction. One thing is hard to comprehend. One thing should be produced. One thing should be directly known. One thing should be realized. And Morris Welch is not so very far away from what Bhante Sujato is writing. There is, friends, one thing that greatly helps. And Bhante Sujato says there is one thing that is helpful. The word in Pali is bahukaro. And so it is really that it helps a lot. Bahu is always when something is plentiful, when there's a lot of something. So it's a lot of help. And what is that one thing? Is the next question the Buddha asks. And he says, diligence and skillful qualities. And Morris Welch says, tirelessness in wholesome states. And in Pali, it would be appamado kusalesu dhammesu. So this, this tirelessness or diligence is indeed quite important, right? When we don't start to practice, when we don't, how to say, when we don't give it all we have, then we don't get any results. If you aim for any meditative state or meditative attainment, then you need to give it your all. You need to give it your everything. And you need to be tireless or diligent. And if you are sick and tired and cannot give a lot, you still give everything you've got. There is no way to say, well, I'm giving it only my half, or doing it half-heartedly instead of wholeheartedly. This diligence and tirelessness is really that we dedicate ourselves to it. It has to do, of course, with virya, the energy that we put into it. But it's not about this virya only. It's virya would be that we do the impossible. And that is what actually we shall do. We should be really diligent to do the impossible. So you don't need to worry whether you're strong, you're young, you're healthy, or you're old and sick, and or young and sick. Well, that also happens. But you don't need to bother about these things. What you need to bother is that you always give 100%, that you dedicate yourself 100% to the practice. And for some who is old and sick, 100% is maybe just the 10th part of somebody who is young and strong and capable. But I have seen young, capable, strong people giving only a tiny bit of energy and diligence into the practice and getting nowhere. And I have seen elder people or sick people who don't have much strength left. But this strength they put in entirely, wholeheartedly, and thus the results are tremendous. Whereas for one who does not put in the same amount of time and effort and diligence and tirelessness, there is not the same outcome. So really, this is important for one who want to be free from all the ties that bind. So the next question is, which one thing is to be developed? Says the Buddha, mindfulness with regard to the body, accompanied by pleasure. In Pali, that would be kaya gata sati, sata sahagata. So that sounds a little bit, mind, and Bhikkhu Sujato translates mindfulness of the body that is full of pleasure. So mindfulness, there we have our vipassana practice, the seeing clearly part, the sati, and then we have something full of pleasure, which we usually hear when it's the talk about the samadhi and the jhanas. So, and from this you can understand these two practices are going together. And of course, if there is pleasure, if there is not an aversion, mindfulness is much easier. You know, I'm talking to so many people. I'm having several meditation reports every day. And so I talk really to a lot of people about their meditation progress, process. And we do mindful meditation. And sometimes I know, even from my own practice, that being mindful on the body, when your body is tired and it hurts and you have eaten too much and stomach ache and your bones start to ache and whatnot, and displeasure and discomfort, then mindfulness of the body can really be annoying. You don't want to know it anymore. You just want to you don't want to see it anymore, right? So mindfulness of the body that is full of pleasure is extremely helpful. When there is nothing that hurts, nothing that is bothering, nothing that is unpleasurable, and you can just be mindful. And this was, of course, is never the case. As soon as you have the body, as soon as you have a body, or one has a body, there is discomfort and displeasure at some point. So the pleasure really comes from giving ourselves into the practice, putting it all in there, and being there fully, so much so that we are being somewhat absorbed, so much that we even have something arising like not the full upekka of the fourth jhana, of course, but because then we can't be as mindful and in the body as we could, but it has a strong concentration aspect, and there we shall watch over it, that we're not going into disliking too much, even if it hurts and even if it's unpleasurable. So we can and we should actually, when we breathe in and breathe out, and long and short, and we know that it's long or short, and then the bodily formations calm down. And this is where the physical pleasure first starts to arise a tiny bit. It's not fully there yet. Physical pleasure is there to the fullest in the third jhana. There we feel. It is said, there we feel the physical pleasure. So for the next question is, which one thing is to be thoroughly known? Contact as a condition of the corruptions of grasping. Pasu sasavu upadaniyo. That is contact as a condition of the corruptions and of grasping. And let's see what Bhikkhu Bhante Sujato, how he translated. Contact, which is accompanied by defilements and is prone to being grasped. So, contact, where do we know that from? We know it from the chain, the links of the dependent origination. And things are coming into contact with our body or with some of our sense doors. Let's put it a little bit abstract. Sounds come into contact with the sense door of hearing. Smells or odors come into contact through the sense organ knows. So these all are accompanied by defilements. The contact in one who is an arahant or a Buddha, even, it would be without defilements. But in us, not being arahants, not being Buddhas, contact is, except in rare occasions, accompanied by defilements. When something is not smelling nice, like around here, when the farmers are putting the cow dung on the meadows, the whole area just smells so awful, but it's me thinking it, that it is awful. There are people who say, oh, this reminds me of childhood and summer, and it brings such good memories and so on. So by our defilements, we agree to something or disagree to something. We grasp or we reject. So in these things, like any contact, the seeing contact, all the same. If we see something, we hardly ever say just seeing, seeing, seeing. We already judge in our minds. I like this, I don't like this, this is nice, this isn't nice, this is awful, this is whatsoever what we think. And these thoughts are tainted by our defilements. There is no way for us to watch things without our defilements. And we grasp these things. We turn ourselves towards them. And this is to be understood. And there is an opposite, right? When we see the things that we see with our eyes only as seeing, seeing, seeing instead, that ugly cup there. Or if we hear something, oh, this beautiful bird song or something. Or when we have a touching feeling, this is a rough touch of the cloth. I need a fabric softener or something. So to see that in any contact that we grasp is grasped with defilements. And I was talking about that we are reactive. We as people learn from childhood on to be reactive, and when something calls our name, somebody calls our name, something calls our attention, the telephone rings or whatever, we need to attend, we need to react. And this is what is meant here by grasping. We grasp things, and this is not necessary. We can let the telephone ring and just notice there is a hearing contact. If you do have questions later on, or questions arise while I'm talking, please put them in a question in the chat section. So, what one thing should be given up? Very easy. The conceit I am. When is this conceit I am going away, disappearing from us? Only very late, only when we become an arahant. Until then, we are prone, we are we are subject to having this conceit. We are in the situation that we always think, even as a non-returner, we think of ourselves as I am, I have, I will, I whatsoever. And only totally, fully, this conceit leaves us with the fading away of avidya, of the not knowing, of the not understanding. We start to see through the personality belief or views when one becomes a stream enterer. But still, we need to work ourselves through the long and burdensome and hurtful process of getting rid of the total conceit I am. And while I was talking, I thought, oh, I need to take a sip of my tea. My tea is getting cold. I'm taking a sip, but the thing is, I'm not thinking tea is getting cold, but I'm thinking this is my tea. I have a tea. And this also is conceit. We are making things I, me, mine. We're having a self and giving things a self. You know, like children, when we give cups, like make them dance, like in these Disney movies or so, that everything receives a personality and everything moves and dances and sings and talks. That is fun, of course, and we get used to it, but this is making even more I, me, mine, giving things personalities and selves, when instead we should learn that really not even within ourselves there's something like a self. Okay, right, next thing. What one thing makes things worse? That is improper attention. Oh, I didn't check Morris Welch's translations of the former, but I don't think it can be much different. Which one thing is to be abandoned? Ego, conceit. And the Pali word would be asmimana. That was the former question. Now, this question, the last question, which one thing conduces to diminution, unwise attention, ayuniso manasikaro. That is what Bhikkhu Bodhi Bhikkhu Bhante Sujato translates as improper attention. I'm happy for Bhante Sujato's translation, because yeah, to diminution. I don't know how to pronounce this. Regardless, unwise attention or improper attention, ayuniso manasikaro, is what makes things worse. And I can tell that is so. If you, in a meditation retreat, for example, let slip these moments of mindfulness, then things can somewhat explode around you. And when you start to push away your anger, for example, because you don't want it, then you don't put proper attention to it. And proper attention would be, here anger is arising. I'm attending to the arising of anger, and thus it can't get worse. And then we are properly attending to the cessation of anger. And if we don't do that, the anger then will even go as far as people getting up and saying, I can't meditate anymore. I'm the worst meditator. And it's not always that external sources are the reason they say that. Even they take themselves as the cause and think, oh, I can't meditate. I'm thinking too much. Instead of paying proper attention, or because of improper attention to what things arise and what things cease, this is happening. That things really can get worse. And we suddenly find ourselves wrapping up meditation cushions. In Thailand, they say, wrapping up the cushion. When you have not attended to anger or ill will or something, and it builds up so much that you need to stand up and react. And there are many ways this can occur, this can happen, and every single unwholesome thing that you improperly attend to, like you let it happen, you allow it to happen, you attend to unwisely, you rather push it away instead of accepting it. You rather think, wow, that's nice. Well, when you have some meditative phenomena like beautiful colors and beautiful things happening to you, when you do not attend to them wisely, you will get lost in them. And everything in the end will be lost. All the work that you have done will lead to some fascination. And when the fascination is over, or when the moment is over, fascination is over, and you have to start all over again. So this really unwise attention can make things worse in every way. And next question the Buddha asks and answers is, what leads to distinction? What leads this they translate the same. So, wisely or proper attention. What would that be? You would see things as they arise, when they arise, and you would see them cease when they cease. You would not hold on to them. You would not add anything. You would not take anything away. That means you don't make up stories about the cup and the tea. You would not do all the improper things that we have been talking about. What one thing is hard to comprehend? And here, Bhante Sujato says, the heart's immersion of immediate result. And Morris Welch says, which one thing is hard to penetrate? And this, I think, is a little bit closer to what it is about. And that would be the uninterrupted mental concentration. So a really deep, full concentration. This is hard to comprehend, hard to penetrate. The Pali word would be anantariko cetu samadhi. And here Bhante Sujato says the heart's immersion. Cetu comes from chitta. Often chitta is translated as heart. And there is no, often it is also translated as mind. And I think neither of it fully translates the word of chitta or ceto. And so it's important that at some point in life, you maybe practice so much that you really can comprehend this state of hard mind, this state. In Germany, we have a word for it. This is Gemüt. But actually in English, there is no word for that. If you want to try to translate Gemüt, you would have either hard or mind, mostly mind, or even soul or something. And this is not really what it is about. But the word immersion is very, very proper here. It's really about an immersion. The Buddha talks about states of samadhi when something is really immersed, drenched in water. like a bowl of soap that is mixed with water, and or a lotus flower that is really underneath the surface of the water and has not grown over the surface of water yet. So it's totally immersed in water, and it is drenched by water. So the heart and the mind is so much, so deeply focused that there is nothing else than this focus. There's not even an object yet anymore. Not yet anymore. There is not even an object of meditation anymore. There might, in the higher states of immersion or concentration or jhana, there might be some sanya, so some being aware of what is happening, but so tiny bit that would not be, when we are shaking by improper attention or even by proper attention, and there's a sound, and the sound within us makes kind of boom, 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 and is bringing up thoughts and bringing up things, then in the states of immersion or states of this Cheto Samadhi, there would not be the slightest movement. There is the sound, and there might be the knowledge of there being a sound, but nothing moves beyond being aware. And there are states where even this knowing is not there, and that is the last step, the last not jhana, it's not called a jhana, but the ninth state, the one state that is beyond, the Buddha says, nibbana. And that is without knowing and feeling. So, and this is the highest state. Nibbana is the highest state of immersion. And this is really hard to comprehend. Even the lower states of the jhanas are hard to comprehend for one who is not used to it. And it really can scare people. When they get close, sometimes people report that they have fear to let go into such a state, because it's suddenly becoming so still, or it's suddenly being so wide and like standing in the universe, in the nothing, and having to jump, and that can be scary for some. But this is actually, if you get this far, then I can just say jump. Because you remain on your meditation cushion. You're not jumping from anywhere. You're just maybe jumping out of your ignorance. So what do we have next? One thing should be produced. One thing should be produced. What would that be? Unshakable knowledge. Which one thing is to be made to arise? Unshakable knowledge. Akuppang Jnanam, unshakable knowledge. Unshakable is Akupa, and Anenja, the name of our monastery here in Germany, is Anenja. So this is a state that we want to know. We want to penetrate and to comprehend and to produce, or as Morris Welsh says, to be made to arise. What do we have to do for that? To make unshakable knowledge, to give it a rise? We have to give away, let go of all our views, for example, in the first place. I think to start with views, with our opinions, giving our opinions, asked and unasked, that is a good start. We have to prepare our heart to be really open to everything, to accept everything is the best possible way to become unshakable. And try to connect what I'm talking about. Earlier I was talking about the vibration, that when we are sitting and hearing a sound, this sound makes a lot of noise within us and produces thoughts and feelings, which I explain to be like movements. Whereas when you are in a meditative state, the deeper your absorption is, the more you are immersed in your meditative state, the less the movement of things are. So you hear a sound and it makes like hearing, yeah, and it's over. And this, like just hearing and accepting that there might have been some sound, is the way to be unshakable, is giving rise to the option, to the possibility for you to become unshakable. So now Facebook user is writing something. Respected Bhikkhuni, if we have panya, that seeing action is due to previous merit, if we are on middle path, not attract or attached, am I right? Yes, Facebook user, right. Bhikkhuni samadhi means combination of sama and adhi. Sama means evenly, and adhi means unlimited. Let us, we can talk about these words. Let us continue here. This is not entirely correct. This is also a good way of putting it, but the meaning is really putting it together. That would be the correct translation of the word samadhi. But since we are not a Pali course and I'm here with this sutta, I would very much prefer to not go too much into into the how words are being put together. So since also we only have a few minutes left, and we are not even through with the first paragraph. The next question of the Buddha is, which one thing is to be thoroughly learned? What do you think? What is to be thoroughly learned? That is that all beings are maintained by nutriment. All beings are nurtured by nutriment. And Bhante Sujato says all sentient beings are sustained by food. Whichever way we translate it. There are suttas. I forgot the number, but there are suttas that are about the food, about the nutriment. And there are 4 kinds of nutriment. And one is the physical food. But we receive other food as well. What we, for example, call food for thought. So many people, when they come to meditate, I notice they want to read. They want to read and write. And I say, no, you practice. You're not getting any books. So this hunger for information, when you have the time to just sit there and observe, is also a food that you crave for. So we are, there was a saying, you are what you eat, no? And that is true. And not only in the physical sense, but also in the mental sense. We are what we eat. When we eat, for example, horror movies, and we crave for and we nurture our mind with unwholesome things, this will be in our mind, as well as when we read wholesome books, we read suttas and things like that. That's another form of nutriment. Okay, now for the last one, and then it's enough for today. What one thing should be realized? And which is the one thing to be realized? Unshakable deliverance of mind. Akupa cheto vimutti, says Morris Welch, and Bhante Sujato says the unshakable release of the heart. There you see, cheto, one translates it as mind, and the other as heart. And really, I'm really in search of a word in English that could be used in a way that would somewhat transport the meaning of the word chitta or chitu. But it is really the total release, the total freedom from suffering in the end, no? Enlightenment, we say. Some say. Others say, oh, we don't say that anymore. Anyway, however we name it, Nibbana, that the mind and the heart will be unfettered, unobstructed, untainted, and free from doubt, free from suffering. That should be realized. So these 10 things are the true, real, and accurate, not unreal, not otherwise were rightly awakened by the realized one. And Morris Welch to finish with translate this sentence as that makes 10 things that are real and true, so and not otherwise, unerringly and perfectly realized by the Tathagata. Okay. With this, I would finish off for today. Many blessings to you. Have a great week. Have a good day or good night ahead. This was Ayya Phalanyani from Anenja Vihara. Bye-bye. See you next week.